Good afternoon. Definitely Good Friday to you. Happy Good Friday, wherever you are. Um, Today is Friday, April 15th. And, now is a holiday. So we're celebrating, in a way, the betrayal of Jesus Christ, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. I guess that's what Easter is. But to everybody, Easter probably means something different. And the Jewish people, I believe, they are celebrating the Passover. So it definitely has a different meaning to them. But it's important that we celebrate these days, and especially for our people in Liberia, where things are extremely difficult, and most times the relief of that difficulty, those challenges, it comes through imbibing, having fun, engaging with others. Doc Alexander Red, I think you should come on for 5 minutes maybe and just talk about Easter and what it means for you and for other Christians. If you got time, let me know. And then I can send you a message and then you join in. But I think, you know, um, our people understanding this whole Easter thing and what it means for them and sharing the word of God out there that, people can know there's a higher power, even though sometimes for me personally, I can feel like, God has forgotten um, about our country, but maybe not. Maybe he has something in store for us, because even on the cross, I believe Jesus asked his Father, why have you forsaken me? So sometimes I ask that question with regards to Liberia. I'm like, God, why have you forsaken Liberia? Where are we that we should go through all the things we go through? And a lot of our people, man, I need you stop calling me. A lot of our people are religious, Christians, Muslims, but yet we don't live that way. We don't treat each other that way. With the morals, the values, the ethics, the principles of those different faiths, we don't really bring them to bear. So, how do we move this country forward? Is a perplexing question. Is really really befuddling, confusing, especially since we know with the level of natural resources we have, the advantages we have in terms of location, the weather we have in terms of agriculture, the beaches we have in terms of tourism. I mean, and the ocean we have for fishing and everything. You wonder, why can't we get it right? What is hindering us as a people from getting this development thing right for only 5 million plus people? When there's actually, when you really break it down, there's enough to go around, the opportunities to create jobs, and there's just so many things that we can do. But, today or this week, there has been a lot of different activity in the news. A lot of different activities, a lot of different newsmakers, and we'll touch on some of those, and those who have commentary on some of what's happening. Feel free to share what your thoughts are. Um, we know sometimes there's fake news and sometimes there's real news. One news that's going around right now that some people are calling fake news and some people are saying actually happened. Um, One or two people I know say, you know, a relative or somebody who worked for them, relative, got affected by the quote unquote supposed power outage at JFK. Now, I personally don't know 100% whether it's true or not, but I'm getting information from reliable sources. And as a matter of fact, um, I should ask one of the individuals to come on the show and tell us a little bit about what's happening with his relative that he claims was involved. So it's not easy when people lose their loved ones, and nobody wants to trivialize it. But when the government is saying through JFK, they issue a press release that all the stories out there are false, you can only, do but so much, because it's hard to just dispute what government is saying, except people can step up and say, yes, this is my relative. My relative died while under the care of surgeons or while in the hospital. The current went, and there was no treatment for our family, no treatment for my family member. So we really have to take some of those things seriously. And hopefully JFK can really explain. And those who are making the accusation, they can actually come out and say, this is what happened. This is the ward my family was on. This is the specific wing of JFK. This was a doctor who was treating the person. And this is what happened to them. If we can't do that, if we can't bring facts to the table, then obviously the government will say, oh, nothing ever happened, nothing ever happened. Also in the news, we know our papi, Joseph Yuma Boyka, former vice president of the Republic of Liberia, currently the political leader and Senate bearer of the Unity Party, made some very, very strong statements with regards to the case that is going on at NEC. So let me give some context for those who don't understand what is happening. The Unity Party, along with the All Liberia Party, the ALP, they were in the CPP, the collaborating political parties, along with the ANC, the Alternative National Congress, led by Mr. Alexander Cummings, and the and the Liberty Party, led by Musa Ability. So just so I can delay and just for us to get a sense of what really happened here, I will bring on somebody, this young man, Eliu Caddy, who's joining us to tell us if there's any truth in his accusation about people dying at JFK. Now, there's another person posting, a little girl in my community. A little girl in my community passed off. Okay, so the thing is passed away. For a lot of people, they can say pass off. Pass off is to faint. Pass out is when you're drunk, you pass out. Pass away is when you die. So, Kefala, please take note of that, along with many other people who always say pass off when they're trying to say death. A little girl in my community passed off last night while undergoing a surgery, according to information at JFK. We buried her this afternoon. So, folks, that's somebody who has actually been buried, okay, and you're having surgery. So you can argue against this. I don't know, Kefala, if y'all got pictures or y'all got something, or the parent can come out and say something. But JFK has issued a release, and we'll try to bring that release on. But in the meantime, let me welcome Mr. Eliu Caddy. Eliu, greetings. How are you? Is your mic on, Eliu? We hear some grinding.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Are you hearing me?
Yes, wonderful. We can hear you. Wonderful. We can hear you now. So, yes, okay. Eliu, your post caused a lot of concern on Facebook. And I'm in a couple of different chat rooms where one has a lot of government officials, and they claim everything you're saying is not true. So if you can share your story with us about what's really happening with regards to this situation of your family member that you said passed away, and have my sympathy, but your family member that was on a surgery at JFK, and what really happened. What is the story?
Thank you, Mr. Tupa. for giving me this privilege to share my story with the rest of the country. And it's a side moment. What happened last night at JFK is something that could have been avoided. It is something that we could avoid, especially the administration at JFK. We took our cousin at JFK, and she was diagnosed of asthma. She was diagnosed of asthma. I don't know how they concluded that she must go on an operation. I don't know how they reached that conclusion, but the medical practitioner, especially the guy who did the operation, or at least who started the operation, is identified as Dr. Siafa. That's the name I know of him. He's called Dr. Siafa. That's the name I know.
Okay.
So when they took the girl in the operation room, and some place I later identified to be some corner apart from the operation room, and my uncle was in, the little girl asked him that she needed water because the nurses who were there for some reason said the girl shouldn't take in water, but she was requesting water because she was thirsty. So my uncle decided to go outside and get her water. When he left the operation room, they immediately commenced the operation.
Without
They
authority.
commenced yeah,
Wow.
the Dr. Siafa person now. We know the guy named Dr. Safar, and the rest of the other people they were identified as cadets from the Doklati school.
Okay.
So the most senior doctor among them was Dr. Safar. So when my uncle returned with the water, the whole place was dark. But then the Dr. Safar guy knew that there was a complication, so he abandoned the operation. He came outside and sat down. My uncle engaged him, but doctor, why are you sitting here? And my daughter is in the ongoing operation. And the annoying thing about it, one of the nurses was outside in the corridor. She had earpiece in her ear dancing to a loud music. And my uncle was like, what's happening here? You guys are carrying on operation, the whole place dark, you using phone, let other people out there. And the guy who started the operation is here sitting. Dr. Siafa is here sitting. And the other nurse here having earpiece in her ear dancing to a loud music. And the rest of the other people, they were all kids. Why they already open again? Under the cover of darkness. It took more than 10 minutes before the leg could return to JFK. But before the leg came on, the nurses informed my uncle that your daughter is dead. So find me. They may say, but how do you explain this? You started operation, the doctor who started the operation is nowhere to be found. And only the nurses here. The other nurse I left inside there, she's now in the corridor dancing to a loud music. So out of anger, my uncle started to place curses on her, saying you bury all your children. It was annoying last night. These people are a bunch of unprofessional people at JFK. I'm even shocked when I saw your message suggesting that there was no power outage at JFK. It's annoying. And if they continue to push that narrative,
I know you as a reputable young man, and I respect you. That's why I'll ask you. I said, is this true? I came in your inbox because I don't know if you just
that's not true.
Lie like that.
That's not true.
So, folks,
that is false and misleading.
It is extremely disappointing. We share here what JFK is saying, and then you can comment. Okay. We share this particular window right here. The press statement from JFK, they said for immediate release, the management of John F. Kennedy Medical Center's attention has been drawn to reports on social media outlets via Facebook referencing reported power outage at the medical center facility on Thursday, April 14, 2022, that led to the death of several patients. The management of JFK Medical Center wishes to clarify that said information is completely false and irresponsibly misleading. There was absolutely no situation of power outage at the medical center for the past 24 hours due to stable power from the Liberia Electricity Corporation, LEC. Despite the challenge of not receiving stable power from the national grid for over 3 months, the medical center has expended over $100,000 on diesel fuel to maintain stable power in direct support of patient care. Additionally, the medical center also has 3 functional standby generators for the purpose of sustaining stable power supply at the facility in any instance where there is power outage from LEC. The management of the JFKMC Medical Center strongly warns individuals and media outlets that habitually spreading false and misleading information about the JFK Medical Center to desist immediately or risk legal action. The management reaffirms her commitment to make the JFK Medical Center the hospital of choice and encourages the public to positively contribute to this quest through constructive engagements. And it's signed by Dr. Jerry F. Brown. What do you have to say to this?
I think JFK is trying to provoke us, and largely my family is a Muslim family, so that's why they are kind of quiet, because they believe that it is God who gave and take life. But we see they are in particular see they as provocation. It is auto provocation on the part of JFK. People are bereaved. If my family gets to see this press release, they will be moved to take the first legal action against JFK, because we are not naive. My family witnessed what happened last night at JFK. We are still mourning the loss of our cousin, our daughter, and our sister. To see this press release from JFK means that they are insensitive. They're trying to mix professional career with politics. We were there. We saw what happened. Tears is rolling down our cheek. And JFK is trying to provoke us to say there was no power outage. We as family members, we are lying. What reason do we have to lie against JFK when there was power outage? To the extent my uncle had to put a phone light on to identify his daughter in the room. Where is Dr. Siafa? JFK knows exactly what we are talking about. Dr. Siafa, who started the operation, he's alive and well. Let them go and ask him what happened last night. The nurses that were assigned to that particular ward, let them explain to you how they were tempted to use cell phone light.
Wow.
Let them explain to you what happened.
So hopefully we can get in touch with this Dr. Shafa and be able to, speak to him, because I asked in another chat room if anybody else knew or anybody thought your statement was true. You guys share the flyer on your page, and your flyer said scores of people undergoing operation met their untimely deaths last night at JFK. And for people to see that, let me just share the screen as well so they can understand where you were coming from with this. You said scores of people undergoing operation met their untimely deaths last night at JFK. They were being operated on when LEC left, and that was how I lost my cousin, with a crying emoji. And I asked a few people about what happened there. And they said, one person said, my cousin, the cousin of my nurse, had the same situation yesterday at JFK. Another person referenced you. Then a third person referenced somebody in the neighborhood who had the same situation. So I just cannot understand that JFK will try to do this kind of massive cover up when living people are saying these things happening to our family members or to people in our community. So my suggestion would be for your family to actually pursue some kind of investigation or some kind of clarification from JFK, given what happened. Yes, Kota, we shared the JFK statement already. So,
Yeah.
Aliyu,
So
let me give you an
yeah.
opportunity to make some closing statements, and then we can
All right.
try to.
Thank you, Mr. Tupa. And we that could be something that we might consider a legal action. We might explore the law to seek redress because we were seeing it as something that we could let go of. But JFK is trying to present us in the public as liars, and we are going to take strong exception to that. We know what happened last night. We are grieving. My family is bereaved. So if JFK wants to play politics as if to say we are naive and we are insensitive to what we are saying, then we see it as a provocation, as JFK is not showing any sign of remorse to the situation last night. So I'm going to inform my family immediately that JFK has presented us as liars. We are lying. We don't know what we are talking. So that press statement, I'm going to download it and show it to the family because most of them, family members are around currently, they are in tears. So maybe if they see such press release from JFK, the next thing JFK will be dragged to court.
Thank you. I appreciate you appearing on short notice. Have my sincere sympathy on the passing of your cousin, and please share our general sympathy with the family as well. We'll try to reach back to you after the show just to see how things are evolving and developing. So thank you for coming on.
All right.
So folks, that's where it's at. It's an issue again of contradictory statements. Real life incidents, according to this young man, happened. According to some other people, it happened. However, our primary hospital in the country is saying the information is false. People are lying and sharing, very, very reckless and irresponsible. And if it's not true, then it's reckless. But I find it hard not to believe this young individual that he would just fabricate this whole thing. His uncle will fabricate. A couple other people who I've talked to, even this young man on year 2, Kefala Kamara, would fabricate that somebody from his neighborhood or community died. We just hope that JFK will not, can be properly informed and really come back to the public and say what really happened. Also in the news, we know Joseph Boyka was on fire, well, on paper, but his presentation in person was wanting. But sadly, he was making threats. And we know we don't have a very stable society. We know people can pay thugs at any point in time to disrupt anything. We know our police is not good at handling these kind of issues and these kind of situations. So the threat that Vice President Boyka issued, if the Unity Party cannot field a candidate, is very concerning. And I just hope he can walk that back and just explain to people what he really means, because it sounds very threatening and it's not good for our young democracy. I have wondered, there was an initial statement, I believe, by Mo Ali that came out, and then it was followed by a statement by Joseph Boyka. Then it was followed by this actual press conference, or statement. Wasn't a press conference really, because he didn't engage any questions. But the reality is, Vice President Boyka is not really in the state of mind, in my opinion, the physical state of mind. I mean, his physical appearance, his physical presentation, that kind of requirement that's needed from somebody who wants to be a leader. The demand is not easy. So I'm just wondering, if somebody from the Unity Party wants to come on and buttress what he's saying or make a case for him, please feel free. But we are not in a situation where we can be making threats about what will happen if a candidate does not participate in elections. And we hope they empty threats, though, because the reality is the Unity Party, and that was the discussion I was having before Aliyu came on, the Unity Party and the ALP withdrew from the CPP, the collaborating political parties. Unfortunately, when you get into an agreement or contractual situation as the collaborating political parties and you present a specific document or framework document as you guide you, yes, there is some contestation with regards to the framework document, but the reality is that document that was filed with NEC was the same document that they won seats, legislative seats with. It's the same document they have been operating under. Okay, and that document had clear statements about what it takes to withdraw from the relationship. Okay, they all signed it. There was an agreement. They say in order to withdraw, in order to withdraw, there's some processes. You got to go through the dispute resolution process, the internal dispute resolutions. The Unity Party and the ALP did not do that. They did not go through the regular dispute resolution issue. They went ahead, I believe, and got the national executive committees, 2/3 of them, to sign off on their withdrawal, and they just withdrew. But that is not what was in the agreement that was filed with NEC. So the CPP, now with 2 members, Liberty Party and the ANC, had a case, and they brought that case before the NEC. And the Unity Party tried to kick the case out, but the NEC denied them that motion because the case was valid. This is an agreement you have. This is the agreement under which your people were elected. Yes, you may be contesting and saying there were forgery, XYZ, even though the evidence shows that there was no forgery. But granted, that is the document until somebody can say, no, this is not the document. That is the document they operate under. So they are actually have no standing to say they cannot, if they do not present a candidate, there will be issues in the country, which is very wrong. You know, I don't want to play Vice President Boykott's speech because I think it will be playing into, you know, what he's trying to propagate. And I hope, you know, he will kind of come to himself and be himself. Because for one thing, you can say anything about Vice President Boycott, but I have not known him to be a confrontational person outright like that. He may be passive aggressive, and you know, most people are. But to come out boldly and be making those statements, it's sad. And I even have people come in my inbox. There's one lady from Lofa who raised the issue that what they're doing to him is elderly abuse. And I did a post, and so many Unity Party folks are upset there. They're crying on the post, and they're even trying to get personal. But for me, personal doesn't do anything to me. I know who I am. I'm very comfortable with myself. So whatever comments you make, it's just immaterial to me. We got to try to stick with the issues. So hopefully they can, you know, come around to understanding what that obligation is. Then also on the disappointing side of this thing, Musa Dean, who is our Minister of Justice, intervened an ongoing situation, an ongoing hearing, an ongoing case at the National Election Commission. He injected himself into the case and tried to say, you know, from a constitutional or legal basis, the other folks don't have a case, which in my opinion, he should not have done, not as Minister of Justice. This is not in your domain for you to, you know, interfere or pass a ruling on or to even interject. And he tries to discount Article 25, which holds the obligations of contract. When you come into a contract, you are obligated to that contract, and the Constitution protects that. Even though we know in Liberia, generally, we don't respect contracts. You know, whatever that is, our legal system does not really enforce contracts. But when there's an opportunity to make sure somebody adhere to the tenets of a contract, people have to do that. And that's what the CPP is doing now at the National Elections Commission, trying to ensure that the Unity Party, having exited the CPP in an improper manner does not feed a candidate. So there's some hesitation and, grieving about the situation, because in the Unity Party mind, if this happens, that means most likely they cannot feed Joseph Boyka as a candidate as Unity Party. They probably have to go on a different cover. And some people are saying, oh, people have the right to associate. Yeah, you have the right to associate. But when you come to a contractual agreement in terms of that association, where it's clearly stated what the terms of, withdrawal is, and you don't apply that, then how can you withdraw? No, you have no grounds to withdraw, So it's very important that we get these things ironed out. And again, our democracy is young. We are testing so many aspects of our democracy. Look at the governance situation. We'll come to that, where right now we are seeing bad governance. But we expect the NEC to make the right decision. We really hope they do. And from my perspective, I'll be honest, it's not a biased thing. It's objectively looking at those documents. The Unity Party should have exited through the right means. And if they decided to exit, they should understand what the terms were, that they cannot feed a candidate under the name. So if they really want to support a candidate, feed that candidate as an independent candidate or under a different context, they could have done that. But it is where it is, and the decision will be made by the NEC. So another issue that has been captivating people this week has been the invincible part that President Weah, supposedly spent $3 million on. Now, we hear these sometimes original numbers for the construction of these parks and facilities, and we don't see what the spend is. We don't know what the auditing or vetting of the spend is. But granted, he said he spent $3 million. But many people are concerned about the prioritization of this government. Was it the right thing to do? Now, I have a little different viewpoint for many of those people. Yes, our people are going through struggles right now. Our people are hungry. The very people who they supposedly said this facility is for, our, indigent, disadvantaged brothers and sisters who are probably on drugs or out there in the streets, they need more than that. So as much as we did a baseline, I used to be, with this organization, it used to be called Child Steps International. Now it's Civics and Service International. We did a baseline study. And one of the most fundamental complaints consistently among all the different people we interview in the focus group discussion was the fact that we don't have community centers. We don't have places that our young people can go to play. So in my mind, it's not about one facility. It's about decentralization of facilities in different communities to get our people with extracurricular activities, our young people active and playing. So as much as this stuff, it's a great idea, but the whole implementation of ideas is what makes it special, what makes it different. And spending $3 million on one facility versus $300,000 on 10 facilities around the county or the city would have been probably a better approach. But more importantly, is the fact that this location is near an airport. That's highly risky. Yes, most of the time there will not be an accident. But the day an accident happens, then people will be like, oh, they were not supposed to do this. So there could have been other locations where that particular facility could have been constructed. Government has eminent domain. They could have demanded a certain area they wanted to use, especially there are some slum and dilapidated areas in Montserrado County, in Monrovia City, that could have been identified, and that particular facility could have been placed there. So for me, there are two major factors that are driving my disagreement with this facility: the location and the fact that it could have been decentralized into smaller facilities to benefit a larger swath of the population than those who have, currently benefited from it. Yeah, well, I want to welcome my friend Kia Simmons. She's with a tourism group called World Views. They have a lot of interest in doing stuff in Liberia. Unfortunately, we're not focused on our tourism sector. I mean, this is a vibrant, potential revenue generating, putting Liberia on the map for us to be able to, be known as a tourist attraction center. We have the different things necessary. We have the rainforests, we have the jungle, we have some animals, we have hospitable people, we have the beaches, we have the surfing in Cape Mount, and probably there could be other areas in Liberia where the surfing could be great if we just expose people to them. And we have nearly 560 kilometers of coastline. There's so much that can be done, with what we have. Unfortunately, we have not been able to leverage that. We have not been able to come with a systematic approach to it. We got tourism buried under the Ministry of Information and Culture, which limits the opportunity for us to actually expand in that market. So even the whole thing about hospitality, it could be so much improved. So tourism holds a lot of potential for Liberia. It holds jobs opportunities. It holds increased revenue. It holds, for businesses as well as for government with regards to taxation. It has development factors. Just imagine people who are into the casinos and other stuff. They can come and build a wonderful casino that can provide hundreds of jobs for people in River Cess, in Sino, River Jet. I mean, there's just so many places where these people can go. In Maryland, these are beautiful places that will really respond to the tourism sector. So we just hope that our government can wake up to some of these ideas. We are willing to just supply the ideas for them to implement. It's just about the approach to implementation. How you get the resource, how you get the commitments, how you actually do the work, how you hold people accountable. Those are things that are missing from this government that they need to focus on. For years, we're behind this bicentennial celebration of the return of the free slaves, and the government was not responding. But eventually, when they came to the U.S. sometime in September, October last year, one of the senators from one of the state was like, "Oh, you have to celebrate the return of the free slaves or the free Black people." And what happened? They jump on it. But again, no preparation. The city is dirty. The activities, the different locations, that it won't take a lot for government to upgrade some of these places. Even the rainforest, you put 2 or 3 solar panels, you can have light to a place. You can have some water there. You find 30, 40,000 for several different locations, several different places. Strategic road construction or road repair would make getting to places in the Southeast much easier. Like going to River Cess, there are probably 10 or 15 spots, not even that, on the road that cause all the traffic blockages and all the breakdowns. If you just fix those particular spots, people can have a smooth ride. You do the same thing around the country until you got the resources to build full roads across the country. But we're not thinking strategically, we're not prioritizing certain things. And so we are very, very, very limited in how we can move our country forward, how we can create jobs. Like somebody was saying earlier in one of the comments, a lot of these young people who are going to that stadium to celebrate it, which is wonderful. They will leave from there hungry. And this is a holiday weekend. What are they going to eat? They will eat the stadium? No, they can't eat the stadium. So they got to find something that means they're a hungry man. It's a desperate man. It's an angry man. And sometimes that's why crime is so high, because they got to find a way to eat. Very, very few people will sit there and just starve because they don't have a job or don't have anything. They will find a way to make something happen. So government has to recognize that and, and work with our people. There were other things in the news. The whole Princess Cooper situation and the protests around that. Now, from the get-go, this case has been fishy. Somebody dies, And without any investigation, any analysis, just looking at the body, even though when I saw pictures of the body, I automatically knew there was foul play. But initially, the police came and said no foul play. And supposedly, one of the residents in our building, that particular night, they escorted that person to Farmington, and supposedly that person left the country. So if that person was a potential suspect in the case, how could you allow that person to leave the country? And what is the update on the investigation? With all the noise the family is making, with all the noise the public is making, the basically two protests, like 3 days ago, and I believe 2 days ago, and yesterday. Okay, one of them where even Princess's mom, she was basically flogged. The manhandled her, they were dragging her. All of that is not necessary. Sometimes you got to let civil disobedient people, do what they're doing and observe them. And sometimes you got to move them, but you can't move them with force. Like the aggrieved mother should have been handled with care. They should have been coaxed, should have been encouraged to try to move to a different location rather than occupy the road or wherever she was that they dragged her from. There were some people they incarcerated, and I heard they got free later on. But the police does not have to consistently do or show a force in every protest situation or try to disband people. Then why have a democracy? Why have a democracy? Why have a constitution that gave people those fundamental rights to assemble, to demonstrate, to protest, to persuade a government to act in a certain way? Those are inalienable rights. You can't take them away from the people. They are granted by the Constitution. And some of them are universal. So government has to step up to the plate and really be for the people and understand what that means. It doesn't mean you can just abuse the people. No, it doesn't mean that. So we just hope that government can take note and do some of these things the right way. This situation is a fragile situation. These people are very angry for the death of this young lady. And there were even leakages from the police that tried to smear the reputation or character of the young lady. Whatever somebody does as their profession or their way to generate revenue, that's them. That's what they do. There's no right for anybody to kill them or for them to lose their life. No. So if something happens to them as the state is responsible for everybody's security. You can't let people who depend on you based on a social contract between the state and its people allow you to govern the resources. People allow you to collect the taxes. People allow you to pass the laws and enforce those laws. And then when something happens to somebody, you don't take responsibility to fully ensure your citizens feel insecure, they feel unsafe. Everybody is saying that. There's just so many aspects of our country right now that are just in a downslide, in deterioration state. And the government is not trying to rectify those things. But we're not here to recount all of them. People know them. So government needs to step up. They need to look at what happening in this country, really assess themselves. Are we performing like we should? Performance management should be a natural thing in this government. Unfortunately, it's not, because maybe people don't want to be told the truth. Maybe people are too lazy to do it. It takes work. It takes work to govern. It takes work to think. It takes work to plan. It takes work to implement. And if we can't do the heavy lifting, our country is not moving forward. And being static affects everybody. So it's about time that government takes that responsibility to move this country forward and to try to make a difference for our people. We cannot just continue on the same path that everybody is going on, because it serves no purpose for the country. It doesn't provide the foundational elements of development. It doesn't give our young people the opportunity to really spread their wings. And we see so many promising young people, all these different videos about the talent that exists among our young people. We're not leveraging those talents to benefit them and to make a difference for them. So what are we going to do? How do we move this country forward? That's why we have another series, Restart/Rebuild Liberia, Reimagine Liberia. We want people to think, what does it take for us to move? What are some of the fundamental things that need to happen for us to move this country forward? You know, it's not by threats like the Unity Party folks are doing, you know, because now I'm reading another Unity Party, the Lufa County representative, Mr. Honorable Massaquoi, and sometimes this honorable thing, it's just hard to say it. You wonder how people are called honorable, but they don't live up to the news, The next major thing that's been happening is just the whole corruption. I mean, there's just corruption all over the place. Let's just Ministry of Health. It was at NPA and just other places. So recently at Listis, even Central, had to come in. Central is the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia. They really call on the president, the issue at Listis. Serious allegations, even though at times, sometimes, this is not our money. And like we see shortly, it's the donors' money. Like what happened at the Ministry of Health. It's the donors' money that our people, our leaders, our ministers, our deputies are playing with, instead of trying to see how they can utilize these funds. And the donor money all not free. Some of them are loans that the next generation will be paying for. Or even right now, our revenue, a significant portion of our revenue we receive is used to service debt. Debt servicing is huge. Nearly $88 to $100 million a year. That's a lot. So we can't let our democracy fail. And that's why the folks who have been like a big brother to us, the United States, that's why Dana Banks talk about accountability and transparency. That's why the U.S. ambassador said, Michael McCarthy, transparency, accountability, decrease corruption. That's why Linda Greenfield said that the people of Liberia themselves have to step us up to this. So when you Elizabeth, when you just come into service, don't just start raising song. We already discussed the Justice Minister's statement. So this whole corruption thing, it has to be looked at. This transparency, this accountability. Transparency, everything in government is public. There are few national security issues, especially for a country like ours. We're not at war. We don't really have a lot of significant spy issues. So when they say national security stuff, most other stuff should be open to the public. Nobody's reporting properly. The government not giving accountability for all the expenses. Even the project that we just did, is it a government project? Is it its own money? What is it? So being accountable is a responsibility of government. Being transparent is a responsibility, and those are huge responsibilities, because that transparency and accountability open up things that people can see where government is going, what government is doing, maybe even what they can do to help and support what government is doing. That's how it should be. It should be a partnership between government and the people. Unfortunately, that's not really what's happening. It's like a big divide. Government is all the way over here, and the people are on the other side. We have to bridge that disconnect, bridge that gap, so we are closer. We are all on the same page. We understand what government is trying to do. There's support for what government is trying to do for all of us to have a better country. We can differ on the issues, but we all have to love our country. That should be primary. Everybody should love this country, Liberia. Everybody who's Liberian. I know people try to differentiate Liberians in the diaspora, Liberians on the ground. Some people feel more entitled to be Liberian. Some people feel they're more knowledgeable about the issues than other Liberians. Yeah, everybody don't have the same knowledge. But at the end of the day, we are all Liberians. And for Liberia to move forward, We have to make that change. We have to make things work. We have to implement the solutions. It's nobody coming from outside to do it. The only thing the people coming from outside coming to do to Liberia is to exploit it. Whether it's the foreign direct investment they bring it, they expect to make a profit, because the fundamental role of a corporation is to increase the shareholder value. And how do you do that? If somebody invests $10, you got to try to make it $20 for them. So they're not coming just on a charity's sake. They're coming to make money. And we appreciate those donors like the UN, the different UN agencies, and our bilateral and multilateral partners that just help give us funds. But there's also cost behind those funds. How much of those actually filter down to us as a nation, our people can benefit from? It's limited. So we as a people need to identify what we want out of these relationships. Do we just accept it? Do we not come to the table with our own demands about what we want, how we want things to be, and try to make it that way and make the case? I don't think these people are tone deaf. They can relate to us, but we need that capacity. Okay, we need that capacity, and that's what happened in the electricity sector. We have not come with a national electricity plan. Yeah, we got the regulatory agency, we got the LEC, but what is our own plan? How do we build a plan that covers the totality of Liberia, that factors in a timely fashion when we generate energy, how we transmit that energy, and how we distribute it? We can't just be focused on one side, generation. We got a whole bunch of energy just laying there that's not being transmitted, that's not being distributed to the different people. And we don't have controls, because the first thing, we don't have houses that are numbered, no address system. We don't have people that are identified properly. Our national identification system is still not up to par. So these are all issues that we are facing that government should be trying to solve, rather than focus on the cosmetic or on the gold plating of different projects and stuff like that. It's really the substance that can move our country forward, not the plethora of things, So today is Good Friday. We know people, some people are on holiday, some people are working, but we know people got stuff to do. So we'll just run through some of the comments here, and then be able to close up and say goodbye. How are Kenneth? Hi, how are you? I'm doing good. Can't complain. Rana Mohammed, you make some good points about tourism. That tourism could be a big boom. Yes, tourism has serious potential in our country. And folks, a lot of our young people who are not in the country, who are in the diaspora, they have a real passion for Liberia. And how we are able to exploit that passion and get them to be involved on the ground will say a lot. And that's something that government, again, diaspora relations, there's a whole bunch of opportunities in the diaspora, from investment opportunities to partnership opportunities to capacity building opportunities, just name it. The diaspora is a strong support base for any government of Liberia. They just have to build the relationships, not through the 100,000 donation to a fund, to a EULA function, or promising 300,000 in the budget. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about substantive win-win relationships where we can get organized, whether it's medical visits, whether it's remote distance learning, whether it's people on vacation in Liberia actually contributing to the education sector in an organized fashion. All of those things can make difference, whether it's creating opportunities for Liberians here with, extra capital to invest in our country, to invest with businesses. All of those things are possible. They just need to be organized, because a lot of people have disposable income, but they got to know where that money is going. It's not there for them to throw away. So that's what we are. Elizabeth, try and write proper English, man. Then we'll try to, answer you. But anyway, folks, it's been a wonderful hour. This hour went by real fast. Ruth Sally says the people have to be healthy for them to go to the playground. That's another thing. You know, you can't just play on empty stomach. Again, we got to find a way for our people to eat. And some of us are trying our best to do what we can in the agriculture sector, and we're still working with other people. You know, as time evolves, some of those things will come to bear. But food security is critical. You know, there was rice shortage the other day. Again, there were denials about it. You know, but some people say we're paying $20 plus, $25, $26 for rice. That should not be the case. That should definitely not be the case. We have the potential to be food sufficient. We have the potential to grow our food. Let's utilize that potential. We can't go to our graves and crying Liberia got potential, Liberia got potential, but that potential can be manifested. It can be turned into something real. So, you know, I just want to say thank you to all of those who came out on this day to check out the show. This Chris Menkatier, he says, I don't know what contract he's talking about. You guys need to finalize the contract ability before ticking. I think he means talking. Anything for us to listen. Well, Chris, you don't have to listen. You know, this thing is voluntary. You want to come and listen, you listen. You want to join in, you join in. You want to come, don't come. There's no pressure on anybody to participate in any of these sessions we are having. Okay, I think to a large extent, that's a highlight again. I want to say thank you. We're out of here. Have a wonderful weekend. Happy Easter to everybody.